Coming to you from the Strings and Things studio in Ventura, California, this is the Strings Unraveled podcast. This is Caron, and you are not ready.
What's your name?
Wait, why are we teleprompter?
Here it is. It's not on there.
My name's Anne.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god!
Spit water. That was funny.
Caron caused a spit take.
Oh, what's going
That
on,
stays.
guys?
That stays.
Well, we want to start with what we're making. I am trying to diligently finish things so that I can have all my photos in for our new class schedule, which you're probably enjoying right now as you enjoy this recording of our podcast.
The new class schedule will, I think, be out the same day this episode goes live.
Yep. So I'm working on my swatches for a class I'm offering called Scarf Recipes with Knits and Pearls. There's a corresponding crochet one, which I finished my swatches for already, called Scarf Recipes for Simple Crochet. So my idea is my thought is like, just like that go-to recipe that you like know that you should have some go-to recipes that, like, when you pick up a ball of yarn and you're out on a trip and you don't know what you want, but hey, I know this scarf recipe by heart, you could just cast on and go. And I'm working in the Pantone, the chunkier Pantone by Caron, that they seem to be clearancing at McCalls, so that they can have a thinner version, it looks like, because they have a thinner version on a new end cap, and these are $4 instead of $8. Yeah, if you went
that must be why Joann's had it on clearance just before the holidays.
Did they?
Yeah.
I saw the new colors, but I didn't realize it was a different base.
I couldn't remember what the yardage was because I knew this would be like a good idea for my swatches without having to spend a whole bunch. And it's much closer to 200, which I was like, gosh, that seems like a lot more yardage than I remember there being.
Yeah.
I'm also working on a full-size scarf for one of the samples for that class that I started some time ago in fingering weight, and I don't usually make scarves. I find them tremendously boring as a rule, but this is a fun stitch pattern that is kind of my brain dead.
Thing.
Yeah, it's this one's the Montana scarf. So if you've heard of that, that'll be one of the recipes that we review. So these are not my designs. They're either just simple stitch patterns or they are existing scarf patterns that are out in the world that I just want to compile and expose people to.
So when you're looking at stuff like that, is it sometimes the item itself is not really complex, but do you find that sometimes if it's got an interesting stitch pattern, something inside says, hey, I kind of want to do that? I mean, how did you what made you decide to do this? Because it's a pretty straight scarf, no increases or decreases.
I like this stitch pattern. I use it, I sprinkle it around my life as much as I can. Like, it's the stitch pattern I use when I teach my favorite sock. Oh. And it looks different, of course, if you flat or if you work it in the round. But it's a super easy one to memorize. It's one row is knit 3, purl 3. The other row is knit 1, purl 1, which gives you different results in.
Kind of like mistake rib.
Kind of. That's what my son, who's really kind of my oldest, is improvising his way through learning to knit because he doesn't have any resources at home to be trained.
And it's reversible.
He has no one near him that can teach him how to knit. That poor guy.
No really experienced knitters in his very own household where he lays his head.
That's sad. Where's the key in it?
Can you imagine learning to knit with no experienced knitters in your house? So one of those things is real. So the thing, he picks this up and he's like, oh, it's a mistake rib or whatever. I'm like, close. It's not.
I could teach you what it is.
Yeah, it's not. And they're all kind of similar variations on that theme, the 3 patterns I chose. So Montana scarf, the one row scarf from Stephanie Pearl McPhee.
I love that one.
the Eve's Rib, which was that cool ruffled scarf from Misty Alpaca.
Oh.
And what's the fourth one? Oh, I am gonna do just like a broken mistake rib too. That's so stupid easy.
What
It's
about
in
that
a
rib that I used in my...
no. That's not as easy. That is not that easy. I found I have
what are we
never.
It's
talking
only
about?
4 stitches.
It's
and 4
not hard.
rows.
It's
we talking
not
about?
hard. So in Karen's
Provence.
The yoga
sweater.
sweater.
It's the broken 4 rib
But row 4 always trips people up.
so it's knit a row, purl a row, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. Yeah, I've never taken out so much 2x2 ribbing in my life.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that pattern, but
it
for some
would-
reason it like offsets people.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't put my finger on
I
quite
think
what it was.
they either make it garter or make it rib. It's okay, I'm gonna do it garter. Now I'm gonna change to rib. Now I'm gonna do the garter. It's not really. It's not even garter. It would
be interesting.
Reverse stocking, 2 rows of reverse stockinette, 2 rows of.
It would be interesting for me to pay attention to when my error happened. If it happened on the first row of the 2x2 ribbing or the second row of the 2x2 ribbing, because I'm reading my fabric. So if I'm paying attention to my fabric, I shouldn't be having any problems. But I
noticed people didn't make
drives me
mistakes right away. They made the mistakes later on
When they
after
get
they got
comfortable.
comfortable.
yeah, absolutely. Because so
When you
that's
turn the brain off because you got the rhythm of
You go,
it,
oh, I got this.
and then you're like, dang, I don't.
Yeah.
So that is sort of your question that you asked me just now is like, is it so interesting that you're willing to put up with a scarf, or is it's the perfect balance of this is a pattern I don't have to think about, but I get an interesting result. And I'm not screwing up because I should be paying just a little bit more attention. I really don't have to pay attention to these.
Because
They're like the
contrary to
crock pot
what-
recipe that you dump the things in the crock pot and go away, and then
set it and forget.
yeah. Then your scarf is finished.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. I put a pot roast in here and now I have a scarf. And what lovely cashmere it is.
And the gauge is perfect
gosh.
every time.
Well, it's a scarf, so yeah. But it's exactly the length I intended it to be.
But contrary to what is popularly said, there is no such thing as mindless knitting. You do have to have a little bit of brain power.
Yeah.
It's
little bit.
close. It's close sometimes.
Well,
but
there was a little buzz at the table last weekend about sleep knitting.
Oh yeah.
Have you been talking about sleep knitting recently?
Yeah,
Karen?
somebody told me that Karen knits in her sleep.
Yeah. But haven't
Well-
you all been like so tired and you need to get the rows in
so
Yep.
and you close your eyes
your
and
hands
you
know
know
what
that you're
they're
dozing off?
doing, and so you're just gonna get to the end of the row with your eyes closed. And then you wake up, and it's been 3 hours later, and you haven't dropped a stitch, but somehow
I know, it's amazing.
somehow you've been working pearls on your knit row. That's, I guess, where my sleep brain defaults to is pearls.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm also
Except that kind of texture really, really stands out as wrong.
yes.
You can't sell that.
I am also embroidering.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, it's so
and
pretty.
I'm so happy with it.
It's
Another
great.
class
You're
I'm planning is
You're a beast in the best
Wow.
way.
I got this done all on Sunday night too.
That's
Like I haven't worked on it
beautiful.
since Sunday. So there's a
I knew you'd get your favorite color in first, because, of course you do.
the
that's what I
green
did.
or
No, the fabric.
oh, this would be like you ask my mom what her favorite color is, and she's like, I love all the colors. No, Mom, I need one answer. I need to know what your favorite color is so I can make you a thing. No, I love them all equally.
Not helpful,
Okay,
people.
fine.
When I want you to have a preference, I need you to have a preference.
So I wouldn't describe this as a favorite color. It's
I was just going by what you said.
I
at the
think they
table.
called it tomato on the bolts.
That's so
I got it
gorgeous.
at Super Buzzy, but tomatoes could
I would
have
call
an
it-
orange
yeah.
tone.
It could be
I
a
guess
tomato.
So it's a very red
Mixed with
orange.
carrot.
Yeah. Well, the girl who cut it said, "This is such a vegetable color." I was like,
Yeah.
"That's such a
Yeah.
apt and strange description."
It's a good color.
Yeah. So I am very happy with it. It's the sunflower tote from Anila Hui, which when you see somebody's name and never say it,
Mm-hmm.
that I made up a lot of things as to what her name was. So I have focused my ability to read on learning her name. Anila Hui.
How do you spell
Um,
Hooley?
It's Hoey.
Okay.
That's her name, is her screen name on Instagram, and she's so cute and makes all kinds of cool bags and neat things. All of her patterns are downloadable.
Yeah, so you're almost done. Look at that.
And I'm almost done. I'm gonna make two. I have two colorways. One is with this hot orange background with a slightly different palette of embroidery floss, and then I chose like a nice plummy purple that's very muted, and then I can do her colors on there too.
And which way did you get the outline on
So
that one?
Caron saved my life with some Sulky transfer pens, which you could trace the design and use more than once. I didn't
realize that. That's extra. That's very cool.
Too. I was trepidatious about it being permanent, so I have to be careful that I cover all of the lines.
It does say so on the pen.
Yeah. So I went into it knowingly. I tested it on a little bit of fabric. And
Wait, would that fabric be my ironing board?
well, not intentionally directly onto your ironing board. It did go through the fabric onto Karen's ironing board.
Now it's got beautiful designs on it.
It
right?
has a couple of cute little flowers on it.
Embellish the world.
Right.
Everything.
Right. So this is a very cool sampler. So it felt like a very natural class to offer. So it's a sampler of a lot of basic embroidery and some slightly more advanced ones.
It's going to be a bag?
It's a tote bag. Yeah.
Cute.
So I'm very happy and excited about it, and it's turning out really well. I will probably make a third one because I want to try out the sticky stabilizer that you can just photocopy on.
Mm-hmm.
So she recommends a different brand, C&T or something, but you only get 6 sheets for like $15. And you're lending me that Sulky, which
the Sulky is like 25 for like 30.
That's
I don't
better,
know.
that's better, yeah.
But
I was thinking more because this design is printed on an 8.5 11 sheet of paper, and there's a lot of white space that's wasted. And Caron was saying how you wanted to like make use of that stabilizer, but you can't run it through the photocopy machine again. So you should do some like legit cut and paste and photocopy, cut, paste on your white sheet.
On the Sulky, to use it at home, you need to put you need to up your ink on your printer so that it goes
like
through.
A high concentration.
Yes.
So like your highest quality print.
So I made a copy first, a regular photocopy, and then
so highest contrast.
Yeah, but because their water solubles are kind of precious, come on, financially, I decided I didn't want to ruin any, so I checked the paper and checked the to see if it was super dark, and so I didn't max it out at first like I should have. It should just go for the max. It's going to look way too dark for the paper, but what happens is when it transfers, the sheets absorb, but they don't absorb all of the ink. So
if I photocopy it here, just put it on highest contrast. You think?
Highest contrast.
Okay.
Is that purple the other
fabric? This purple is the other fabric.
I photocopied the instructions with the sheet for you.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay. But readings for suckers. You heard that here first.
It's probably not the first time they've heard it here.
But you heard it here first.
And you also heard me declare I want that on a t-shirt.
I might just straight up. So this is
Is this Essex Linen?
No, I don't. It's up in the front. It's super.
I think it is. It's my favorite stuff.
That's what they recommend in the pattern.
That's what this is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wait, so when you get to your turn, you can talk.
So
about
I'm
that
actually using the fabric recommended in the pattern. Then, oops. But this didn't transfer very well, so maybe I will just try it on this bag and not make a third one. Use the.
Was that the first copy?
Well, I felt bad about transferring onto your ironing board, so I kind of did.
I actually didn't give you any grief for it.
No, you
I
didn't.
don't mind it.
I still felt bad about it.
Aww.
So that's how guilt works. You never can predict the levels. So I might just. I forget what I did. I put a blank piece of paper. I put the one that had the transfer on it, and then I put the fabric, thinking that I would be insulating your board better. But you need to put the heat onto the paper, which is such a
So my suggestion is put my pressing sheet my Teflon pressing
That
sheet.
seems expensive, and I don't think you want flowers on it.
No, that comes right off. It's
Okay.
just Teflon, so it comes right off.
Nothing sticks. Just
Nothing sticks.
except for those eggs Kevin made.
Oh. That sounds like a story. We'll definitely want to hear that later.
You have to heat the pan enough so that the eggs don't stick, and he never ever does, no matter what pan he's using. How come your eggs don't stick, Aunt? Because I let it get hot.
Okay then.
So those are my thrilling things. I've been sewing a lot.
Yeah.
And it's been very, very fun. So back to swatching. That's what I'm working on right now.
I am working on a shawl for the class schedule. This is the
super pretty.
This is the Satori Shawl by Maiko Hikosaka. That's her Instagram name as well. I'll link to it. The pattern is called Satori Shawl. I just said that. It's a 2-color fingering weight shawl with a garter stitch at the top and a lace border. And I'm making it in Forbidden fibers that I got when we went to Stitches SoCal. And it's like a multicolored greens with a little bit of gray, a little bit of blue for the top, and then the bottom is the bright green for the lace. And these colorways are Nargles and Aloha Mora. So it's also my Harry Potter shawl.
Yes, I like it. I like the names. I like the colors. They're fabulous.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. I like this yarn too. It's an interesting texture. It's like lots of little plies, like one of those where it's like, you can see.
So
it's very puffy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
That has a lot of squish.
Yeah.
Squishability.
And she has lots of good colors, so that is what I currently have in my hands. And that's it. What do you have in your hands, Karen?
I'm because it's so close to when classes are, we're all working on samples.
Yeah.
Bringing you the best, even at the last minute.
It's not the last minute. We are so on it.
That's true. That's true.
We all put our things in close to the actual due date that we set for ourselves. Close.
I might not have done mine.
That's your privilege.
But you know
that's
what?
your
That's
problem.
What I said, you know what?
We have different points of view.
No,
I've done this for many years.
That's what I figured. I made sure that whatever you gals had in has got a product already.
Well,
so
you're 1,000% better than me already.
Well, that's because I must have put that fear or something in you guys. Well, not Katie, because Katie's always ahead. But
I felt behind this time though. I was late.
It kind of snuck up on us, but
yeah.
So I am working on
it's the 15th. We do not expect to give you this schedule until
the first.
The first.
Yeah, that's exactly the right day. And we're gonna have probably all our samples done.
Yes.
I'm gonna try my best.
I might have all my samples
done.
It only happens
Would you like
once
to knit
a
a
year.
sweater for me?
No.
Because I haven't done that yet.
Thank you. It's fun to say that. No, I don't.
Thank you
I'm
for
just
giving me the
double-checking
opportunity
myself
to say
here.
no. So
Maybe.
what sample are you working on?
Sorry, yeah.
I am working on a crocheted shawl called Molokini, inspired by the crescent-shaped, partially submerged volcanic crater located in Hawaii. The designer is Helda Panagari, and I found her name in the Solidarity Swap, which unfortunately is closed, but so you find treasures when you go through your stash. So remember several episodes back when we looked through and I had just had a bag of stuff.
Oh yeah, our mystery project bag challenge or whatever it was called.
Which after we finished taping it, I put it back under my desk and it's been residing there where my feet kick it every time I
Mine's in a cubby in my office. It's fine.
I finished one thing from those bags.
Oh yeah, you did. I remember that.
Well, I think I've got something I'm finally going to use and finish.
Woo!
So, what it is, it's got one semi-solid or tonal paired with a multi-stripe. And the yarn that they called for would have been super cool, except trying to be on a yarn diet because...
You still have to nourish yourself when you're on a diet.
I actually have a pantry full of really great nourishment here. So I'm not
You're not starving.
I'm not starving. I'm not hurting.
Okay.
So I previously, from Stitches West from 5 years ago.
It's only 4. No,
Only
because
4?
my memories came, like my pictures from
that's
that came
good.
up recently.
Oh, cool.
So it's only been 4.
So Spincycle yarns dyed in the wool. I thought that this colorway was like Mississippi Marsala,
Well,
but
it
it's
has
not.
blues, yeah.
No, this is Rusted Rainbow, which
gorgeous.
I love. So
Pretty.
instead of using the Coney Wool Effect yarn that is like a humongous multi-colored self-striping thing, which would have been gorgeous.
I love that yarn, but it's not soft.
It's not soft, but
And
you
you have
know
something
the
delicious.
cycle is nice. It happens to be sport. It's a perfect weight. It does its own really cool self-stripy thing. But then I found this other treasure. I've seen this. It's the
gorgeous.
gingery color, but this is a treasure because this company is no longer around.
Oh, what is it?
It's Cephalapod
Oh,
Bugga,
yeah.
hand-dyed
Bugga.
sport weight. Sarah Eyre, Eyre. This is the color is called Bronze Moth. So you can see I've got all the autumnal colors in
Gorgeous.
that, from russets to parchment to green to orange in the Spincycle yarn, and this Bugga is like the perfect little autumnal ginger.
And it's perfect because, like, that's how I like to choose when I'm going to combine 2 colorways. Like, if you have a multi self-striping, I like to say, don't, like, pick a color that's not in it.
Yeah,
That just
otherwise
goes
you'll
with
lose
it.
It
And
kind of is,
it
but
almost
but
is, yeah.
because
But you've got the green with it to
well, that's the
offset
thing.
it.
The Spincycle dyed in the wool is not a true one color each stripe.
It reminds me of what was that yarn that we got?
Zauberball.
Zauberball, yes.
Zauberball. Yeah. So it never will ever blend away. You'll
It's
always have
helix
something.
spinning, right?
Sure.
I think, I mean, they can correct us if we're wrong.
I don't know.
Well,
It's when, like, you have a gradient and a self-stripe, I think, is how helix spinning works.
yeah. I know that when I spin my own, that if I'm not careful with how the colors line up, this is kind of what happens. So
Then you're doing it
So
right
what a happy
because
accident.
some
Ooh,
popular
happy
stuff.
accident. Anyway,
Spincycle
but
ain't got it wrong.
I know
No.
you guys can't feel this, but I'm gonna feel it.
But I could feel it for you. Oh, it's silky and squishy.
That
That's
little bit of
wonderful.
cashmere, a little bit of nylon.
Is it an MCN?
It is superwash. Is that what MC?
Merino cashmere nylon?
Yes, it is.
Oh, a new
I just
acronym.
learned something. I just know that it's like it finally found its perfect home.
It's wonderful.
It is meant to be
And
with
it's
that one.
meant to be. It was meant to be crocheted all this time in this gorgeous thing.
So that yarn company, again, correct me if I'm wrong, they are the epitome of what my dad would say when we'd ask, what would happen if you never married Mom? He liked to answer, you'd be 2 other people right now. Right?
Yes.
They're 2
Yeah.
other yarn companies
Well,
now.
yeah,
Except
because
it's sort of the reverse.
well,
they
yeah, because
met, had a baby.
they came
now they're 2
together,
other
and this was
people.
originally the Sanguine Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they decided to each have their own, there were two gals, and when they decided to have their own company, I don't know the reason why I didn't ask. One became the Verdant Griffin, and the other one became Cephalapod, and they both had their own Bugga.
Oh. Well, they're 2 other people now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a love story doesn't happen.
Or maybe they just needed to be
Oh yeah,
otherwise.
it's none of my never mind why the yarn companies aren't. It just reminds me of what my dad used to say. What do you mean? I don't understand. I'm 7. Tell me why I'd be 2 other people.
Oh, and here's a wonderful plug. If you are ever interested in thinking about dyeing, Sarah Eyre has a couple of classes on Craftsy/Blueprint BLUPRINT on dyeing, and she's wonderful to watch.
It was an entertaining class, yes.
I liked her stuff. So that's what I am at the moment working on. I mean, don't look in the office. I've got so many other things. You mentioned, so that was Forbidden Fibers, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a wool blend?
I don't exactly know what it is, but yes, something like that.
So I am working, I got one more project that I'm working, one more project.
One more project you want to talk about today.
It is merino
Yeah.
and nylon.
So this is the first time I've ever worked with Forbidden Fibers, and this is a cotton linen blend. And look how awesome this is coming out. When I
gorgeous.
first saw this, it's kind of a washed
denim.
denim-y look, with little tiny pops of purpley pink in
Yeah,
there.
it definitely has like a purple tint to it.
Yeah.
Is that the elemental raglan?
This is going to be elemental raglan. Also, on the will be on the next calendar, on the next class session. This is called, the colorway is purple delphinium. It's really pretty. It's 60% organic cotton, 40% linen. Also sport weight. I've got a thing for sport weight these days. And the yarn is Proverbs, and I think it's going to be like my new favorite tee. It's meant to be loose and kind of not sheer, but layered. Yeah, a layered look, drapey.
Mm-hmm.
And the designer is Yumiko Alexander. She has her own line of Dando designs. On Ravelry. She's got a lot of fun things.
Is it a short sleeve?
No. My stitches are on holders.
But I mean, is it going to be, or is it
it's
long
actually,
sleeves? Or?
It's going to be long sleeve or like 3/4 sleeve because it's top down. It could be whatever length sleeve you want it to be.
Right.
Which is kind of cool. It's a really simple neckline. You don't have to pick up and do anything else to it. It's just really like she says, it's a garter stitch, raglan sleeve. It does have a split at the bottom, and the front is a little bit shorter than the back, or not. It's up to you,
right?
I
like it.
I'm so glad there's no such thing as the yarn police or the design police. The designers have their own intentions, but when it's on your needles, you do what you want.
Yeah, you're the boss of your own knitting.
You are the boss. Be the boss.
So do we want to talk about things that we have finished since last time we recorded?
Sure.
I think what I finished.
Oh, since last time, because I wanted to say, well, I just finished the swatch.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. I finished the swatch of Montana. My most recent finished object, a swatch for Montana scarf. I have been sewing a lot, so I finished. I talked about the Sew Your View challenge last time, and I have finished 2 objects from Sew Your View, and I guess it's also a current project because I'm making a second one for the March. So I want to 7912 was the McCalls pattern for February, and that's a belted coat, and I did that in plaid and did all the finishing things I talked about last time, and I'm really, really, really happy with the skill challenges and how it turned out. It's super comfy without being like a heavy coat.
Nice. And
then the March challenge, I could make 100 of these and be so happy.
Oh.
It is pattern 7906 from McCalls, and it is a 3 different length button up pleated skirt with pockets.
That sounds right up your alley.
It's me forever, like me all day.
If there was a skirt if you had to define Anne in a piece in a garment,
it would probably be
it'd be a fabulous skirt.
The garment would be Anne.
Because this is like something I love from the 90s. I loved that button front skirt. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I can't tell you why, but I loved it. It was maybe because it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the pleat, because I like a pleated skirt too, but we had like plaid pleated skirts for school.
Right.
And it was.
Those aren't special.
No. So I still love pleats. So I love this skirt. It has pockets, and they're perfectly hidden pockets, so they don't add any bulk to, and it's high waisted, so it's very slimming. And, I like currently my weight's a little up from where I want it to be, and it's a thing. Like I was losing a lot of weight, and then I'm not right now, and I'm gaining again, and I'm in that place where I'm gonna bring everything down for a minute. Like while I was losing weight, people would talk to me a lot about my body, and I didn't like that, and I'm sorry if I'm sharing that and it hurts anyone's feelings that is listening right now. And in my head, I was like, what are people going to think when I can't do this anymore? And I start gaining again. And like, if you've known me a long time, you've seen me at all different weights and sizes, and that's just how I'm going to be. So it's a little disappointing to be gaining again, though. And so somebody on Instagram said, you know what, this body now deserves fun clothes.
Yep.
And can you remember who it was, or did you?
No.
Was that Cashmerette? Because I know she posted a
That
lot of
could
stuff
be-
about
that
size
could be.
inclusion.
That could be a thing from her, but it was just something I read, and that like super resonated with me. And so this skirt is like the epitome of that. It's super easy to make, and I'm so happy making them, and they fit me beautifully, and they like.
And
I
you
just
look,
had
you
to.
look great in them.
Thank you.
Do you have to alter the pattern, or is it?
I had to make one little change. I had like the top size. I had to add like I needed 1.5 inches, so I think I added 3/4 to each of the seams for the waistline, and then tapered that in because there's plenty in the hips.
Yeah.
It's a huge piece of fabric before you pleat it, and I love it. So I made a navy blue one, and I've worn it 3 times since I finished it. I finished this one I haven't posted it on Instagram because it took me a little while to get a cute picture of it. And I'm making like a persimmon orange colored one. I think they called the color paprika. It's a linen rayon blend from Joann's. Because I'm planning for May. I want to finish at least 10 pieces of clothing and do my me made in a capsule. So those 2 skirts are definitely going to.
Can you explain what that means?
Well, I don't want too many spoilers out there, but everybody knows what Me Made May is, and here at the studio,
everybody does.
I'm sorry, lots of people know what Me Made May is. So if you're on Instagram, if you haven't participated, I don't want to read it. You're the one who actually like educated yourself about what the full thing is, so you can share more.
I will be the educator for those who
Karen
don't know.
Is a careful reader.
I read.
You know how I feel about that. So
been down that road.
So you may have observed on social media, particularly Instagram, in May, people post the hashtag Me Made May, and then the year usually. And so in May, the challenge to feature wearing your handmade things. And that's something here at the studio we really value, and we are crafting a way to bring that to our members and listeners and followers, and see how we can energize that in our community. So one of the ways I'm really enjoying capsule wardrobe idea, where you pick I've been doing 10 by 10 so 10 pieces of clothing for 10 days to make 10 outfits. So I've been doing it for my work wardrobe. I'm on my 2nd set of 10, and it's made life a lot easier, but not totally boring. Because like the idea of living in a capsule wardrobe where you have like 10 pieces of clothing, no matter how high quality and well crafted they are, I would want to scream. Because I grew up going to a private school with a uniform, and that
but the reality, when I think of what do I wear on a given week, I probably only wear about 10 things. I've got my favorite pair of pants I wear.
Yeah, but you don't want to have to be like.
But I choose that. It's different. It's
if
nice
those
to
are
have
your only choices. Yeah.
Then I might not appreciate it so much.
But I am enjoying the like I only have it for this finite number of work days, and I only it makes it super easy to choose. This time I got to the halfway point. This is 2nd go. I got to my 5th day without even noticing. Like the 6th day, I'm like, wow, I'm past halfway. I have 2 more days to go in this group, and I'm not that excited about the last two outfits. But last time, my 10th outfit was my favorite outfit. And it was a thing I thought was going to look the least good. It was like, okay, these are the last 2 things that need to be combined. The important thing for me is I made my own rules, because most of the time people include their shoe choices.
Yeah, as part of the 10.
And that was probably what was like killing it for me last time, is I only wore 1 pair of shoes all 10 days. And I love shoes.
So that was a challenge.
So the ability to choose whatever shoes I want that day, and to be able to add 1 more thing into the 10 that was a wearable garment, I think is making all the difference this time. So in May, I plan on having a work capsule that's me made, and hopefully like a personal capsule for the weekends that is me made, and just working those, and it is working out really well.
I have someone on Instagram you should follow if you don't already.
I'm typing it in right now.
Catherine Emma.
K or C?
K. She is I think we did a swap or something is how I met her. I think she was like a fiber share partner or something a couple years ago. But she is a fabulous seamstress, and she makes these gorgeous like basics and beautiful pieces, and she does like the make or 10 by 10 thing. She did one for fall, and she has a saved story highlight about it. But she's got great basics, and I find her very inspiring.
Katherine.
Katharinema. Catherine Emma.
Catherine.
She is followed by Style Arc, which I just sort of tripped into Style Arc patterns, and I haven't made any yet, but I'm really loving how they style everything, and I think I will
say that word again.
Style Arc. ARC.
Oh, not like Skylark that for some reason I've recently started following. I don't remember that. Scientist. I like that's her first word in her description.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
All right, follow. It's done. Everyone else should do it too. Just scanning her feed looks very fun right now.
Yes, it's very inspiring if you're a garment sewer or want to be.
Because so some of our people don't sew. Some of our people don't knit. They only knit or they only crochet. But you're making a lot of garments.
Well,
so let's wear them.
Yeah.
And it's not about doing it every day unless that's what you want to do. It's just about May.
May would be a lot easier if it were in January when it was cold
for
as
us,
a knitter.
For us,
because I know for me it's like I haven't done it before because May is hot where I live, and so I'm like, well,
darn that good weather we had.
I know, right?
So horrible.
It was
what a complaint.
Degrees and
it was a beautiful day today.
Clear skies.
Yeah.
And
but I can't wear a sweater.
No.
Oh well, I'll figure it out. I just need to sew more garments, I guess, is the answer to that.
And I'm excited this year because, Caron initiated the conversation. I'd been thinking about it because I'm really excited about the Sew Over It UK's. They have a book of a really cool capsule wardrobe, and I've been thinking, that would be perfect for me made, is to make that as a capsule wardrobe. So I'm excited that we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
And so we have some time because often like May 3rd or 4th, I'm scrolling through Instagram in the morning and like,
well, that already started.
Aww.
And I know that if I don't try earlier than that, once something starts, I just don't want to jump in. Yeah. Even if it's the day of, I just don't feel prepared. I feel like I'm rushed.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I lose the enjoyment of being able to plan for it if I'm scrambling.
Yeah. Right. And some people do like completely 100% me-made outfits. Some people just like are wearing a thing that you made that day, and that counts too.
That's real life.
Yeah, because I couldn't do the whole thing.
No,
I've made one pair of pants that are not flattering, and I can't wear them every day.
And contrary,
I made a lot of leggings, so I can wear leggings.
And and contrary to what people think, it's not about taking pictures and posting them on Instagram every day. You can do that if you want, and there's no harm in that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to feel pressure to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's just getting into the habit of being comfortable wearing the things that you make outside.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people make things and then they put it away and they don't wear it very often. But it kind of feels like a superpower when you're like out in the world wearing some awesome thing that you made and somebody tells you like, oh, I love your whatever. You're like, haha, I have a secret talent.
You say, I worked really hard on it. Oh my God, you made it?
I love your sweater. I made it.
That's so awesome.
That's my favorite thing about the crafts I choose. And it's my complete bias towards whether or not I'm excited about a craft is if I can't
Can
wear
I get
it
a compliment?
Yeah.
But
if I can't wear it out on the town and get a compliment, because you're more likely the more people who see it.
True.
But yeah, you did just distill me.
Sorry.
So Anne is a skirt is McCalls 7906. Anne is a being, and how the motivations and the activities she chooses in her free time is, can I get a compliment?
What did that guy tell you? You seem like a very intelligent woman.
You seem like a very intelligent woman.
Yeah. You seem. What do you know?
Classic.
No, it's fine. I hopefully seem like an intelligent
That's a good
woman.
thing to be, but also you are.
Yeah.
But it's good to seem like you are.
I hadn't proved it to him, though.
Because you
You
need
know?
to.
And you don't need
Apparently.
to.
Well, he might feel differently.
Well,
Well,
cares
he's
what he
allowed
thinks.
to.
Anyway.
That's right, he is. And I really try, what somebody else thinks of you is none of your business. I really try to convince myself of that.
It's
I
hard. It's a
love
hard
that.
thing to convince yourself
Yeah,
of, but it's
yeah.
a
It's-
good mantra to develop.
It's freeing if you can get it. And then my other favorite is...
I learned not to care by not asking.
Yeah, don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
That's true.
I don't think about it. Because if I think I might be disappointed, I'm like, as long as I don't ask the question, I will not be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's really a good parenting technique.
No, that's just avoidance on some. There's other issues behind that that we don't have to get into.
So I have finished those sewn objects. Last night, I also finished 6 shirts for my husband. Did I talk about that last time?
I don't think so.
Okay. I make my husband funny, cool button-down shirts,
Very
and
cool.
I finished 6 of them.
That's a lot
And
of
I
shirts.
only do it in like fits and spurts. So that's pretty much all he's gonna get for maybe the next 5 years. I don't get ready to do it again until he gets threadbare along the buttonhole band, which I'm thinking I need to just bias bind because the rest of the shirts are fine.
By a what?
Bias bind?
What's
Like bias tape.
bias
Bias
bind. I
binding?
thought you said bias spine.
Bias bind.
Bias
Like
bind.
you put a spine in there and it just holds up better.
Yeah, it's a special notion. Go look for it.
Go for it.
We found our...
It's not like get a backbone. Gross.
No,
gross.
we found our snipe hunt. Anybody can find bias spine as a sewing
By a
notion.
spine.
Bias
like I
spine.
need
Don't ask me how it's spelled. You know.
What
It's a good thing we don't
so
do
you
this
made
in the
6
morning.
shirts?
6 button-down
What
shirts.
patterns are they?
I only use...
But I mean like the fabric, not like the they're
This
button
is
down
a
shirts.
classic
Yeah.
button down. The one I like the
I know
most
you
right
use
now.
fun fabrics,
Yeah,
though.
it's an old new look pattern that we've customized to Kevin just the way he likes it.
Mm-hmm.
So he chose this gorgeous color of like sherbet coral,
Yeah.
which might be close to the color of the year.
Yeah.
And then a flamingo fabric.
I like that.
With like in a blue sky, and it's a strip like a bowling shirt, about 4. I think finished after I hem the sides. It's like a 5-inch strip down each front. He chose a Dr. Seuss alphabet on a neon lime green, which he wore to school. And somebody said, "You know what? You are so extra." And he said, "Thank you."
Thank you.
And then they said it wasn't a compliment, or their attitude
Is
indicated.
this a student?
No, it was a colleague.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Then their attitude indicated that it wasn't meant to be a compliment, and he's
Why
reasoned
would a
it out.
colleague be even using that kind of student language?
Yeah, well,
It's like,
because
you're
you
trying
do.
too
They're
hard.
at, they're at a school for the worst age of human beings ever. So he says, "Well, of course it's a compliment, because what's the opposite of extra?" Basic. Well, nobody wants to be basic, so extra is a compliment.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So when he wears his lime green Dr. Seuss alphabet,
That's awesome.
there was NASA.
And he's totally got the personality to pull it off,
Yep.
too.
NASA on a royal blue background. He Game of Thrones on a red background. So they're like emblems of the house sigils. That's 4. Oh, number 5. What are you? Oh, he found this cool Avengers fabric that's like
nice.
on a really lovely turquoisey cadet blue. So I'm sure you can all imagine that color. It's not blue, it's not turquoise, it's not
Teal.
teal. It's a very gray teal, but like a medium tone.
Okay.
It's a really cool like a cool color. And the last one is the one I want to talk a little more in depth about. This will be like a 2-hour podcast, isn't it?
We're only at 45 minutes. We're fine.
And
Karen has a turn.
okay, so
It's the Ann show.
Katie, it's the our show. It's just going to be long. Katie made a really cool project bag that I bought as soon as she put it on the little holder. It's the dinosaurs. I have it right
Oh, yeah, I love that.
here. Yeah, it's the dinosaurs on like a...
That was called Girl Dinosaur.
Oh, okay. So the fabric is from Joann's. It's called Girl Dinosaur.
Something like that.
Dinosaurs with little pink hearts everywhere.
My son hates, because not only dinosaurs, there's a pterosaur here. I do know my stuff, guys.
It's my favorite dinosaur on it. Let me look.
Is it?
No.
I like Stegosauruses a lot, so I'm glad they're
Mine is a Parasaurolophus, and he is underrepresented.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he is.
Sorry.
Represented.
So my family's very, like, particular about getting dinosaurs and what is a dinosaur and not a dinosaur correct, because all prehistoric animals that look like dinosaurs and represented with dinosaurs are not dinosaurs. Anyway, Kevin saw my project bag and he's like, I want that. I want that as a shirt. I'm
he likes purple, right? Is that his favorite color?
Royal purple is his favorite color, and this is like goes with royal purple perfectly. So we went right to Joann's. We bought the appropriate amount to be the accent fabric, and it's satin.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I think I saw that fabric in your office and was wondering what it was going to be.
Yeah, that's this. It's going to be a shirt. So it was around Valentine's Day, and I surprised him with the one with a medium purple background. And I brought it home, and I'm like, did you like the surprise one? Because he knew all these were coming, because it's best if he picks it out.
Yeah.
Because what I think he like is not always what he will like. So I bring it home, I'm like the surprise one? He's like, yeah, but why did you make me just a Valentine's Day shirt? I can only wear it once a year.
Because it has hearts on it?
And I said,
what?
Yeah, and I said, it's not a Valentine's Day shirt. It's a I love dinosaurs shirt.
Yeah.
So then he goes to school and he says, my students voted, it's a Valentine's Day shirt. He teaches junior high, guys. This is not a valid polling audience.
Yeah, right? Who are they to say?
Yeah, so I pulled the table at the studio, showed them the fabric.
I bought it months ago before Valentine's Day. It was not part of their Valentine's Day fabric.
Summertime, I think.
Yeah, it was. It's probably like May or June.
It's in the
novelty
prints. It's not in the Valentine's Day
It's
prints.
just the timing.
I love dinosaurs.
Valentine's Day dominates everything in the month of February.
Yeah, I made you this because I love you, and Valentine's Day happens to be this week.
And you love dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And how about, thank you, honey. I love what you slaved away and made for me.
Don't criticize me, or it's going to be 10 years before you get your next batch of shirt. So
your hair will be silver then.
So we did figure out something, because it was like, in the past, I didn't work 2 jobs and have 3 children.
Yeah. It
was some combination of 1 job and less children. So even though kids are great manageable ages, it's lovely. I pointed out that he might be getting more shirts if he was willing to cut them out, because I don't like cutting out.
That's the boring part. I read something that it's some product that makes cutting easier, but it said sewing is fun, cutting is work. And I was like, exactly.
Yes.
I hate cutting.
Yes. So he is willing to cut out his shirts. And I thought that might improve it.
Cool.
So I was happy to sit down and sew. And it takes me, because if I have to do it start to finish, it takes about 4.5 hours for me to make the shirt from cutting it out
to finish,
and sewing all the way down to the buttons. And it took me more like 2 to 2.5 hours. So he cut out half the time, and that made
I literally cut out half the time.
Literally,
cutting out.
Not
sorry, you guys don't know that from
what?
Don't tell me what I don't know.
Quite literally, Rob Lowe.
Yeah, from
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Katie, pull out your bag right now.
My bag.
Your cute project bag that you're toting around right now.
This one?
I don't know why we have to put it on the table when no one can see it. Except
I haven't seen this cuteness.
Okay.
I was like, why are you talking about my bag? I just remembered.
Made this such cute bag. It's a aqua background with. Am I cutting into what you want to talk about?
Nope.
Okay. So with globes all over it, and I saw it the day after my kids had watched the episode where Leslie and Tom get matched, and she's freaking out that they get matched
on the dating website.
The dating website, and she for the Pawnee, I forget what it's called, it's Pawnee matchmaker,
something like that.
And so she takes him out to lunch, and he figures out she thinks that she's trying to test him out for a date and trying to figure out how they got matched. And he then at the end explains, sorry, spoilers, that he has 26 accounts, and
Tom A, Tom B, Tom C.
So what Tom did you get? Tom N, Haverford. N is for nerd. I don't even check that one. Tom N collects globes. So Katie's project bag is the coolest globe fabric I've ever seen. Tom N Haverford has a shirt of that.
He would
I'm
approve
sure.
of it. Yeah. This was in, I don't remember who donated it, but it was in the stuff from the,
That is super
Sash
buzzy fabric.
is it?
Yeah,
It
I
was
saw
just
it
a
at
fat
Super
quarter,
Buzzy.
and I was like, I'll take that.
That is flipping awesome.
Yeah. So whoever donated the adorable fat quarter with the multicolored globes on it, it's now a beautiful project bag that I love very much.
That I love too.
You can't have it.
I don't want it. I just like
I might have a
enjoying-
scrap you can have
Yeah,
or something.
well, I might like a patch on something or something. Yeah. Then last night I finished 2 dresses for Mirabella. One had donuts and rainbows on it,
That
and the other
was
one
so
had
cute.
Donuts and rainbows.
donuts and rainbows, and the other one
that's so
had
cool.
unicorns like prancing through a whatever
Space or whatever.
Unicorns being awesome.
It's doing what unicorns do, you know.
She had her Star of the Week presentation this morning. I whipped up the 2 dresses. She and I were going to sew them together, but time ran out.
Mm-hmm.
So I whipped them up last night, presented her with the 2 choices. This morning, she was like completely wrought that she had to choose between these 2 dresses.
She could have done like the Oscars like after party thing and like come back from lunch wearing a different dress. She would have been such a star.
It was a half day today, though.
Oh, well.
Next year. Next year.
That's a power move
I
in elementary
love
school.
Oh my
this.
gosh.
Because I don't get to be in the classroom this year, and this is my first time interacting with her class, and one of her girlfriends is like, oh, look at Mirabella's dress. She's wearing such a beautiful dress.
Oh.
So she chose donuts and rainbows. It's
a good one.
High-low. It's a McCalls pattern that's like learn to sew. I don't know the number. Sorry, guys. It's a bunch of cute little knit dresses with peekaboo shoulders if you want them, and she was crazy about the peekaboo sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
So she walked into school going peekaboo, peekaboo.
Look at my sleeve.
Yeah. But she's carrying her teddy bear that's the same size as her, and people are like, wow, and she's like, they must love my sleeves. I'm like, I don't think they saw your sleeves. So I was showing a picture of her at work, and she said she chose that dress for her presentation, and my colleague said, oh, was it about donuts and rainbows? I'm like, no, it was about Mirabella. Oh, so it was about donuts and rainbows.
Yeah.
So yeah, she
or
wore a
unicorns.
dress. Yeah. All of it would have been correct.
Yep. She's a young girl.
Yes.
Unicorns eating donuts under the rainbow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
All that.
Well, she wore her unicorn ear headband, so
That's amazing.
it was unicorn donuts and rainbow.
I
That
love
girl.
children.
Yeah.
They're so funny.
She's the best.
That's hilarious.
It's nice when your daughter is a good mirror of what you think is awesome.
Yeah.
We'll check in 5 years. I am done
But then
talking
check
about
it.
the
But then
things I
check
made.
in 5 years after that.
Yeah,
and then she'll be back
pretty.
to awesome, probably.
Well, yeah, 13, 18. How about let's give it 10.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
A couple more.
23, she'll probably be cool again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about?
Actually, I got a 23-year-old. He's
23 is the worst for boys, though.
not my guys. My
Good.
guys, 23 was good for them.
That's good.
So what have you concluded?
What did I finish? By the time this episode airs, I will have hosted a baby shower for my sister's new baby.
Woo!
So I made the Rio dress, which I might have been working on last time. I finished it.
Exactly.
I finished the dress and I made booties to go with it. Do you
Aw.
remember the Saartjes Booties?
Yes.
They're like
They're so
fingering weight
cute.
with the little crossover straps with the
Yes.
button. I made a million pairs of them. There was it was a real hot pattern like
Yep.
10 years ago. But it's a cute little free pattern.
It's kind of a classic.
Yeah, so I made those to go with it. And it's in like a lilac-y, purpley, gray kind of color that my sister will like. And then I went to Target to try and find little leggings or something to go with it. And I could not for the life of me find one single pair of baby leggings that wasn't like a 10-pack in a solid color.
Are leggings as pants going away for little girls?
I don't think so, but maybe baby sizes was harder to find. I don't know. I gave up trying and I was like, this is good enough.
Yeah.
So I was going to like put together like a little shirt and leggings to go with it, but I didn't want to look that hard. I didn't want to go to another store is basically the end of that.
Too much. Thank you.
So I finished that yesterday. I made a bag yesterday. And
It's
saw it.
gorgeous.
That's the cargo duffel. Is a noodle head pattern. This was
that's in my queue of things to do. Is that cargo duffel?
Yeah, it's a free pattern that she has. That she wrote for Robert Kaufman, and I will say, her free patterns are not as well. Not developed, but there's not as much information as one of her paid for patterns. So there's a little more reading between the lines, which I was a little confused at some points, but I figured it out. So if you're a newer sewer, I wouldn't recommend one of her, not that they're not great, but I would pay for a pattern first because she gives you a ton of steps and a ton of pictures, and it's like a 20-page pattern. This was like a 6-page pattern.
Is there a paid version of that? Or
I don't
not
think
yet?
so. It's
Probably
just
not.
a free PDF that you can get from Robert Kaufman, and it's a great pattern, and it worked out well, and it's well thought out like all of her designs. But I made that for a class sample, and I want to make another one, and it's a duffel bag. It's like
a boxy shape kind of
yeah,
thing.
I think it finishes like 18 inches wide, something like that. It's got this great big zipper across the top. It opens wide. It's very customizable. If you go on Instagram and type in #cargo-duffel, there's like a million great different versions of it, which I made it exactly to pattern for the class. But some people will like add a great lining or shoulder straps or change the pockets or add pockets on the side, and I'd like to be able to play around with it and make more of them because I always make at least 2 or 3 of each of her patterns. But I finished that.
What a compliment.
I know her. I'm like dying for new patterns from her because I've made so many of them. I'm like, I would make anything that she makes. And through her Instagram, she was making these bento bags, which is a pattern by someone else. I think her Etsy shop is Sweet KM. I'll link to it. If you search for whole cloth bento bag pattern, that's her pattern.
I bought that.
Fantastic.
I saw that as a class.
I've
I'm
seen
like, I
people
want that.
make these before. This is the largest of 4 sizes.
There's a knitted one in pom pom from
Yes,
maybe
there is.
2 or 3 the stripes from last summer.
But
Yep.
I like the support that Essex Linen has. It's
Yeah,
it's
this
great
is
structure.
you can make it in any sort of light to medium weight fabric. I made one in quilted cotton as practice. This is the Essex Linen, which is my favorite fabric to work with. And this is the largest size, and it's one single rectangle, and it's sort of like origami folded and ironed, and you do a little folding and pressing, and then it turns into this little triangle-y shaped bag that you tie together with a knot at the top. And she was saying it's great for knitting projects. Like I've just stuffed it full of a bunch of yarn just to give it some structure, but she uses like the little tiny ones for little things. And she had a picture of one like clipped to a clothesline with all her clothesline pins in it. I'm like, well, I don't have clothesline, but that's an adorable picture.
If I did,
Yeah.
Think of how practical that is when it's tied.
Mm-hmm.
For all you people who want a yarn bag where you can keep it, or just have like the strand come through,
Mm-hmm.
that works.
Yeah, it's just big and open on the top until you tie it closed. And she was saying, they're great for throwing in, this is a big one, but if you made the smaller ones, they're great for throwing in other bags to keep things sort of separated. If you have a bunch of projects in your project bag, in a big project bag.
if you were like, no, it wouldn't work.
Okay.
I was thinking of separating yarn balls, like yarn management when you have a multi-thing,
maybe.
instead of like Ziploc baggies.
Yeah.
But maybe.
They could probably jump out if they really wanted to,
Yeah.
if you didn't tie it real tight.
Yeah.
But it's an easy pattern. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. I'm going to teach it as a class, so that's on the calendar.
It's gorgeous.
I've made 2 of them. This is the big one. This is the extra large. I've made the large. I'm going to make all 4 in this fabric because I bought enough. You can make all 4 sizes with a yard and a half.
Wow.
It's a very smart pattern.
Because Essex Linen is not that expensive.
No, that's why I like
was
it's like
$10.75.
$9. Yeah, something like that. It's not $14.99 or whatever a yard. So
Yeah.
I use it for a lot of bag making. It's nice and strong. It's got a beautiful like rustic-y kind of look.
Yeah, because that tomato color I bought is like 17 or something.
Yeah.
a yard, and
Someone, I was at Fabric Town and I was buying this and I was saying how much I liked it, and she said it's great for men's shirts
Oh yeah.
or anybody's shirts. I would like a shirt out of this.
Kevin.
It's like a linen cotton blend, I think.
Kevin is very pro. So usually for his shirts, I use Kona cotton, and that
Mhm.
wears like nobody's business.
Mm-hmm.
On this go, we used a mix just to get the colors right of some
Things.
cotton blends and not Kona cotton, and it's so when you work with good quality
I know.
fabric, and then you put it next to like
Cheapo
not
fabric.
good quality, you just really.
I'm not a fabric snob. Like, I'll make things with
all
kinds of things. But sometimes, like, this Essex linen is like, it feels so nice.
You know, you've got something special.
It frays a little bit, like, on the edges, so it's a little bit of a challenge there, but I've never had a real big problem with it.
But the real thing was, like, sure, I noticed the difference, but when I was first making shirts for Kevin, it was like, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
If we just liked the color or the fabric.
Whatever.
And then I'm like, you know what? We need these to last longer because I only feel like doing it every once in a while. So then we really committed for the most part to buying Kona cotton as the base. And he's like, wow, I really feel the difference in this. And I was surprised that he didn't like only pick Kona for this one because we could have. But he really wanted particular colors.
My favorite tunic dress is made from Essex Linen. And I was worried about it because, of course, I got a very light color. And
was that your new one?
The newest one that I wear all the time.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
And I spill stuff on it, but it washes up just like that.
That's fantastic.
As long as I haven't waited to let anything sit on there, so I don't want it because I don't want to ruin that idea. But I'm always surprised. I don't necessarily wash it right away, but I'll get a little bit of soap or the silk on it right away. I'm always surprised that when I wash it, how it's like it just it blends and disappears. It cleans up so nicely.
When I was at Fabric Town, Virginia was there, and she showed me this beautiful Rifle Paper Company canvas that they just got in, and I was like,
that
what I would
fabric
give to make something
pretty.
out of that. It's so
How much
beautiful.
Is it?
I don't know. I didn't look. I was in a hurry. But like next time I have like some extra spending cash to make a bag, I'm going back and I'm getting it.
Yeah,
it's so beautiful.
Is such gorgeous fabric. Everything they make, I am very entranced by the things that people make out of their fabrics.
And just their products. And my cousin has a pair of their like kids printed with their Rifle Paper Company like floral print. Oh, they're so freaking cute.
At Barnes and Noble, they had in February their stylized date books for $2 each. But I already have like a 2019 date book I'm not using. So
it always seems like such a great idea at the time when you buy one.
But I really am committed to like the Google Calendar situation.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. But it was hard to pass up their brand.
Yeah.
$2 that was originally like probably $30.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's all I have finished lately.
That's all? That's it.
Yeah. Once Caron will go through what she's finished at, it's sort of will segue into what we're going to talk about.
Very short.
No, go. So what have you finished lately, or have you?
I thought I had two things, but then I realized no. I talked about that last month.
Oh, that's okay.
I got one thing.
You got a lot of things going on.
So I've been doing. I don't know. We're all on a kind of a crazy sewing thing. I've been sewing a lot of bags. I've been working on bags by Sew Sweetness. That's Sarah Lawson. And her, Sew SEW, and I've been working on. She came out with the Parksling backpack, and it's one of those really cool crossbody but sling bags. And there's a lot of variations people have done. One person made the front strap a little bit wider so that she could put a mesh pocket for her cell phone right there in the front. But it's not on the outside; it's against her body, so it's really handy. You don't have to get it out of your backpack. I'm repurposing some fabric I had. I think it's
Is that the Tula Pink stuff?
I'm crazy about Tula Pink stuff. Yeah, so this one was De La Luna, and it had all the really pretty macabre moths and ladies' faces and very, I don't know, colorful goth.
Yeah.
A death's head moth. Yeah.
For
so
you,
that one's not.
Silence of the Lambs fans.
That one's not done, but it's almost done. But what held that one up was because I decided that after seeing one of Katie's bags that had really great hardware.
I love hardware.
I could see why. It takes your bags to a whole nother level. And Emma Line bags, they're out of Canada, has really nice hardware. So I've got like rose gold zipper and a pool and zipper pools and rainbow metallic D-rings and
my new favorite brand, hot tip, my new favorite brand for hardware is Sallie Tomato, and they sell it
I
at
like her stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Super Buzzy. Because we
Oh.
were doing those forage bags, which have these big grommets in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate installing grommets and snaps because you have to hammer them. And I was making all these forage bags for Christmas. And I was here, like, during business hours, hammering away, making a lot of noise.
Like, what's Katie doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. She's building
I don't
something
know.
there.
Very aggressive.
So then after I made all these bags, I found the Sallie Tomato ones, and they just snap together. And it's so much easier. You can, like, smack them with a hammer once. But, man, they're so much easier to use. And they're nice quality. And sorry, I interrupted you. Sallie Tomato.
Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did first, I did complete a yarn minder bag.
It's gorgeous.
But what I did is I made it taller.
Is that what this is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's more of a tote because I added 6 inches because the top section is this pixelated tiger. When I was not about to cut that open, that was really awesome. The bottom half is, so I adapted that one by sewing ribbon down. And that's a collection of ribbon. Again, Tula Pink, because like I love Tula Pink. You find Tula Pink ribbons and K Facet ribbons. A lot of these well-known fabric designers do their own grosgrain and woven ribbons by a place called Renaissance Ribbons. And they imagine the best parts of some of the print fabric, but on this little strip. And you can add, the other thing I'm using with that ribbon too is I'm adding it to, what do you call like that plain plasticky type strap that you normally...
Webbing?
Yeah, webbing. So I'm adding it to webbing. So instead of just being plain
Pretty.
ho-hum webbing, you can add a bit of ribbon to give it a little sparkle. But one of the things I really, really loved was, again, I've got those ginormous grommets on there.
Yeah.
But they're screw-on
ones?
The screw-on ones are
nice.
because they're super shiny, and so you wouldn't want to hammer that.
Well, the Sallie Tomato ones are the same way, but you put like a piece of batting over it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some...
But you still have to hammer it?
Yeah, it's not a hard, like... You just have to sort of whack it a little bit. Sometimes you can pop them together by hand, but if it's a really thick piece, you can smack it with a hammer once.
So if they pop together, do you think they stay together, or do you think they pop out?
I think they stay together.
They stay together.
Yeah.
Because I would like to get more, but I don't want to spend a small fortune like I did on those.
I would recommend the Sallie Tomato.
Sallie Tomato, and it's Sallie.
Yep.
Not like, yeah,
Like Sallie Mae.
Yeah.
Sallie Mae. So that's the thing. I've got stuff in plans. So I'm making the large size Parksling for me. And this was going to be a gift, but I decided it's not going to be a gift. It's going to be a gift to me.
The best gift
still
there
a gift.
is.
It's going to be a class sample. So this is a faux leather in a very kind of bronzish kind of color. This is from So Sweetness. They sell, so it's 18 inches up by 56 wide.
Interesting.
And again, so I'm going to make the smaller.
It's almost metallic.
Yeah, it's almost got like a copperiness.
I was thinking
to it.
about looking for some faux leather for a project bag.
She's got all kinds of colors.
Yeah.
And the prices are decent. They're certainly no more than I found other places. And then I am like crazy about the grunge fabric.
I love the grunge fabric.
I got this I did get this at Fat Quarter because they've got like every color.
Is that
of
Robert
grunge.
Kaufman?
Sure.
It's in the salvage.
Let's see. In the salvage, made in Japan, pattern number Moda.
Yeah.
Moda. Basic gray grunge for Moda. And if I had a small fortune, if I could live vicariously and never think about budgets, Moda actually has what they call matchmakers. And they are little basically business size swatches of every color of grunge that they have. Like there's over 100 of these.
I want to get that at the Pantone. It costs like $1,000 to get all the Pantone basics in.
Well, this one, the one I'm talking about is $70, which to me is still like
sounds reasonable.
Not to me, but I do. I mean, because it's the same.
It's like a solid, but it can act as a solid, but it's not boring. It's like got some detail.
It's the same reason that I like hand dyed tonal yarns. And solids are okay, but even so, if I could have a tonal instead of a solid, that's what I
could totally act as. You gave me some of that for Christmas.
Which one?
The grunge.
I did because that's my favorite. And you can go light, you can go dark. I've got a gray blue, I've got a royal blue that has a little bit of teal and some purple, and the gray blue is gray it's more of a warm gray
kind of
that
like
has
slate.
kind of it's very warm to it.
Almost kind of greenish. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's got a lot going. And it has a little bit of purple, a little bit of blue, but they're not like purple. It's like
It reads as a gray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a class sample, just to show people. So I wanted
what pattern?
Parksling.
Oh, the same one. Got it.
Because it really is not as difficult a bag as I've done some of her, like the little phone bag, which I like to make, but I will never teach because it's just.
I was thinking the other day about someone we were talking. I don't remember who I was talking to, a student, about how sewing small things is a lot harder than sewing bigger things. But it's like a happy medium, because I was sewing that duffel bag, which is big, and then you're like wrestling with it. Anything small is fiddly, so it's like medium size is the perfect thing. Yes. But anything bigger is like you feel like you don't have enough room on your desk, and you're I was knocking things over.
My mom wouldn't teach me to do doll clothes. I wanted to learn to sew like making doll clothes, and my mom's like, no, it's just as much. It's much less work to make you a dress than to make your Barbie doll a dress.
Yes.
So I now have this fascination someday that I'm going to go back and make like heirloom quality Barbie doll clothes.
But you could make your own heirloom quality clothing.
I know. I'll put like a little fashion doll up for my me maids.
That'd be adorable. You could make mini versions of your outfits.
I could.
You could.
Well, my goal for April is to finish the 2 or 3 clothing items I've got cut out and partially sewn.
That's a good goal.
This sounds very reasonable.
If I finish them, and part of the planning for May is to finish some things up that I've already started. And as much as I want to start some new things, my goal is to finish things before and enjoy those, and not always be in the constant state of partialness.
Yeah, some completion and satisfaction.
Which would then make May much more comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do some more garment sewing in April to prep for that too. I don't know what the things are gonna be yet, but
so
can I tell like a 30-second story?
No, you've been talking all night.
Wow.
Okay, everyone, please
check
the timestamp, because I actually sat very quietly while Caron and Katie excitedly talked about their things. It's just you're showing me
this is where people think that we're like sisters.
Yeah, we didn't. No blows were just verbal ones. So you're that cool leather, leatherette,
leather. Yeah, which sounds so dirty when you say it.
You're vegan leather.
Yes,
it's my favorite phrase for it. So I took myself on a really special trip.
Oh yeah.
This is totally theme appropriate. I went to Mood Fabrics in Los Angeles. I had a rare middle of the week day off, and I gave myself of course I've had one a month for the last 2 months. I don't think I'm going to get another one for a long time now. So I took myself. I
want to go with you next time.
Well, we should all go. Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Next time we all go together.
You weren't going to invite me. Karen's like, I want to go.
Don't worry, I already planned.
It wasn't me, it was her.
My very next one is going to be, I'm going to see if my mom wants to go for Mother's Day. Because we need to go. I recommend that you guys go with a plan. Like, have some things you've been dying to make and go with a plan. Because the stuff there is amazing, and it's a little overwhelming.
Should we expect? Like, should we prepare, like when people go to these stitching, these knitting retreats and stuff, or I guess conventions. Is this the kind of thing we should maybe look at the website, maybe prepare? I don't even know what this place is like.
Actually. I tried to look at Mood first.
Or just go with patterns in mind that
just
you want to make?
Just go with those things you really, really want to make. I have a shirt that I'm excited about. It's tried and true. I already know it fits, or I want to explore fitting it, and this will be like my go-to, like the fabric I buy that's special for it.
Like the pants.
Yes. Which we're not going to talk about right now.
I wasn't going to.
We are going to talk about it later, the 3 of us. Sorry, guys.
Off
air. We'll talk about it next month. So when we go together, go with a plan. But I'm thinking it'd be fun to go with my mom for Mother's Day and go to the Broad, which I've also not done in LA.
What is that?
It's the newer art museum that's adjacent to LACMA. You have to get like an appointment time, and I was going to go to that, but there was no convenient appointment times because I had a class here on Wednesday night, so I had to be back at a certain time. So I went to Mood. It was amazing. Shangri-La. When people tell you go somewhere and it's not as cool as they're like, it'll be perfect for you. Yes, I know. Pickles. Pickles Norway is a cool website, but it's a very small store. Now I know for when I go to Norway. It was as amazing as people promised it would be.
That's where they go on Project Runway, right?
Yeah.
But in New York, right?
Yeah, but you see it on TV, it's like,
yeah.
Sure. No.
It was just as good.
Flipping amazing. Better than, because in Project Runway, you do not have like a concept.
A scope.
Yeah, scope is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm at Move. It's amazing. I'm shopping. There are these two guys who are wandering around looking at really cool special occasion fabric, and they are like consulting each other about the line of something, and they're clearly planning something cool. I had noticed there was this huge wall of embellished fancy fabrics that had like beading and crystals and embroidery.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I pick up an end of a roll. Everything's on rolls. And I see that the one I look at is $400 a yard.
Woo!
Okay, and it's like maybe
You get like a quarter yard.
yeah, maybe like
You got a fat quarter?
you
You're
could
a swatch?
no swatching actually. They seem to
Wow.
be pretty liberal about swatching for people, but no swatching on this wall. It's like clearly
Yeah.
So
the
wow,
good stuff.
$400 a yard. I have this new appreciation, like maybe some couture is worth what they charge, just for material's sake.
And all the embellishments were probably hand stitched.
Yeah,
Possibly.
that's why
Yeah.
$400 a yard.
After yard.
It looked like a lot of tambori embroidery, like that kind of
gorgeous.
stuff. So I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So then I go shopping and I see these guys around and they're planning something cool. And they got like a leatherette like this that was like pristine gold foil lame.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
And it's like smooth as glass. So I'm
But
like,
real leather.
very
not just- oh, no leatherette?
I think it was leatherette, but
Okay.
whatever.
could have been
Safe.
anything. They also pick up a whole bunch of trims. So all around the store, particularly at the cash registers, there are signs that say, if the fabric's cut, we expect you to pay for it, which is the truth at all fabric stores.
Yes.
But it's not usually like on
Pronounced.
a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Obviously, they've had issues.
when you have $400 a yard
People
fabric,
probably said, I want 2 yards of that without looking at the price tag.
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
I'm leaving now. Yeah. Okay. So these guys are gathering all this cool stuff. They get their fabric cut ahead of me. Then they gather up all these trims, and you have to get the trims cut at the main register. And that guy who cuts the trims happened to also take them over to the fancy wall. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder what they're doing. But it wasn't the kind of vibe where like, what are you making?
Yeah.
Not. I was like everyone's too cool for school. People are loudly talking about their studio projects.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, I used to want to be a costumer too, so F you. I'm not living that life, but it's okay. So I'm trying to like, I'm trying to like hang with these cool people and not be too intrusive about everything. Okay, so they then get rung up ahead of me. So I'm lingering around because they're trying to like handle something else that I asked them to do. And so I'm hanging around the register, and then the guy gets his total. He has a small pile of really cool fancy fabrics and trims. And the guy at the register says, okay, your total is $857.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. But okay, I mean, special occasion, cool stuff, trims. Oh my God, trims add up so fast. So wow, what are they making? The guy says, I need to know what the itemized, how that came to be that total. I'm like,
no.
So it's kind of the guy at the register is sort of clippy and short. And so the guy who cut the trims and another person came over and they're looking and they say, oh, I think it's mostly this $650 a yard fabric that you got a yard out of.
Oh, there you go.
$650 a yard.
Wow.
Wow. Did they buy it?
No.
Oh.
So as
How did
I
he get out of that?
well, he just said, I thought it was $50 a yard. And then the guy who cut it was like, no, it's
You didn't say it was
600.
And he's like, and then the snippy guy was like, well, why didn't you confirm the price with them before you cut it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Which would be a best practice. I do that
If
at
it's
Joanne.
$650, yeah.
You
I
did
asked
see the
them to
ticket.
scan the
Just
bolts.
making sure you saw the ticket.
I asked them to scan the bolt before I cut anything at Joanne's.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the guy says, I thought it was $50 a yard. I'm trying to like pay attention without being too intrusive.
Yeah.
And I think they ended up not making him buy it.
Because they
he
felt
didn't
like
confirm
he didn't
the price.
confirm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they didn't give it to him for $50 a yard.
Well, no.
That part I'm sure of.
Wow. That sucks.
No.
$650 a yard.
I don't even know what world that would be.
I've been sitting on that story. I couldn't wait to tell
That's a good one. I like it.
Wow.
I
just want to go there now. I want to know, what does $650 a yard fabric look like?
It was
Well,
glittery.
we'll have to go look at
Does it
it.
glow? Does it have drugs on it that give you a feeling of
Maybe.
euphoria when you wear it?
Maybe.
Man, I'd be so
I don't
afraid to
know.
sew with it.
I know.
Oh gosh.
I sort of was there was this really
How can you seam
pretty-
rip? You better make that seem perfect.
There was this really pretty fabric that had like a, the rhinestone trim that's like a kind of a chain.
Uh-huh.
So it had like strips of that all along a netting, and then at the end was like a long ostrich feather that was a fringe along the end. And I was just daydreaming about like the gown I would make out of that, and what are Kevin and I going to
When you go to the Oscars, you can wear your...
So when my brother is winning like best soundtrack for something he scored, or his wife Kat is winning for best screenplay or best,
But that's like a red
actress.
carpet.
Or
thing.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or Tuesday.
Be realistic.
Yeah. So
Oh,
anyway.
doesn't everybody wear this when they serve mac and cheese?
I eat mac and cheese privately in my car because nobody else in my family likes the style mac and cheese I like. My kids are happy with, actually not even Kraft. They like store brand. They want the Winco mac and cheese.
That's so sad.
They send my husband and I out on dates so they can have Winco mac and cheese for dinner. I like the Whole Foods mac and cheese, and Kevin would just choose no mac and cheese because he's lactose intolerant and doesn't want to pay the price. It's not worth it for him.
So, our topic that we did not get to last
time.
week is, write it down. Where do you find inspiration when you're feeling bored or uninspired with making? I think this might have been a question we got a while ago and we hadn't got around to it, but we're going to talk about it tonight. So, if you're going through a knitting slump, or if you're just feeling uninspired in general, what are things that you can do to, re-energize yourself or find new inspiration or get yourself out of, stuff like that. So,
well, I went through a slump like that about 4 years ago when Caron and I went to Two Stitches West, and which was a really amazing trip. And go to any Stitches that's near you, big or small, because I could be happy with Stitches SoCal from now on. And so I just challenged myself to try a lot of new things that weren't the thing I was most focused on at the time, which was knitting. And so I learned to weave. I tried out needle punch. And that's when I got excited about spinning too. Needle punch like rug making, which I haven't really in-depthly learned about, but I got excited about spinning and weaving, and that really re-energized me. And then I went in a whole weird place where I started a sort of gallery style business, and that was a bad decision, but hey, that's how I learned the hard way. But I really needed to turn away from.
That actually gave you experience that you're using now.
Yeah, everything in life is, if you let it run its course and you don't let it beat you down, the hardest things are maybe going to be the best experiences.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still not like fully cool with that experience, but anyway.
That's neither here
nor there. I
nor
know
there.
that I like it has that actually was probably like the high low of that, and taking me to probably the lowest low of my professional life was the thing that makes me feel really grateful and confident about the things we're doing here. Like having the shared partnership with people I trust and know can share the work and are trustworthy of that. And how we're pacing ourselves. It makes me feel very confident about where we're going. So turning off one channel of making and challenging myself to get back to that beginner mindset has been a really valuable thing for me. Because now I'm realize that as a sewist that I have a hard time releasing the decades of experience I have that made me into the sewist I am now for all the cool things that people are exploring and like getting out of my fuddy-duddy, well, this is the way I've always done it, and being able to tap into the beginner's mindset, I found that challenging myself to be new at things I've never tried before was the energizing thing for me. And I might, like, I'm still interested in that needle punch, embroidery and rug making, but I don't feel any, like, passion fire growing for it.
I usually find it's like, I always say I like to collect hobbies. It's like, I want to try everything.
Yeah.
So I try a lot of things. They don't always stick, or maybe I do it for a week but yeah, like you said, that sometimes is just like the get your creative energy flowing better so that, you can find inspiration and just energy for other things too. Do you have any?
So sometimes I get too much in work mode because, for years either anything I did was design work or else it was sample work for classes, and we're still doing sample work for classes. Do I need to?
No.
And for a long time, I realized because I started even getting. Occasionally will start to be so much in work mode that nothing is fun anymore because all I see is the time deadline, and it's like, okay, this is great. When is it done? Because I got 10 other things I got to do.
Yeah.
And so every now and then taking a time to do something that doesn't have a deadline or doesn't. There's no person I have to do it for. There's no baby on the way. So, I was following the Quirky Monday podcast on YouTube, and she has the Pisces make along, and the nice thing is she's like, you can make anything, just somewhat water or fish or Pisces related between February 19th and March 19th, and I thought, you know what do I want? I want to do something different that I haven't done in a long time. So I picked up cross stitch, and I haven't done cross stitch was my go-to craft until my hands found knitting, and then I haven't picked it up in almost 18 years. So and of course I picked something that was really, really pretty. It's also really, really hard. There's just a lot. There's like 57 colors in it.
Wow.
But
that is a commitment.
But you know what, I'm not worried about trying to get it done in this month. But I do want to actually work on it from time to time. So a couple times this week, I just put the work away to just do cross stitch. To do something just for the fun of it, just because it's, I'm listening to TV because I'm not really watching TV, and I wish I'd done this before my eyes went bad because I'm doing it better with my. I need to get one of those magnifying glass things, but and even my mom-in-law's like, because we sit and we watch TV together. In the evenings, and she's like, is that for a class? I go, no. I said, it's just I'm always, because I'm working on work all day long, and then I'm working on work projects all night, all into the evening, and then even well until like to midnight, and then it's like, when do I turn work off and just have fun?
I think that's a very us problem, is that like, every 3 months I'm like stressed out trying to finish a bunch of things at once. But you're right, it's like those are the times when I get like bogged down and I'm like, I have way too many things to do, and it's counterintuitive, but sometimes the answer is start something totally different, or like,
because you have to turn what I found, the 2 nights that I didn't do work were the next day were so much more productive. I was so much more motivated just in taking a night off. So if you're not enjoying that thing, it's okay to step away from it, is my whole point. It's okay to step away and maybe do something fresh. Maybe you're learning something new, or maybe something you already know but you haven't done for a while. It's okay to pick up a different... I say change your craft, and don't just say go from one knit project or one crochet project to another of the same kind of project. Change up your project. It literally takes a different part of the brain to work that, and it gives the part of your brain that you've been overworking and that's not excited anymore, it gives it a chance to rest while your other part of your brain gets to work on something new, and then when you go to pick it up again, it's like, oh, okay.
I was listening to an episode of a podcast, Stuff Mom Never Told You, And
that podcast. I haven't listened in a long time.
it's been going for a long time.
Yeah.
I just listened to an episode about burnout, and they were talking specifically about like in the workplace. But I listened.
This is our workplace.
Yeah, I listened to it today in like sort of preparation for this episode, and then I was doing some research earlier about burnout and creative burnout specifically. And the things that I was reading sort of resonated with me because I do feel like I'm susceptible to the knitting slump pretty often. And
Especially
I think
you mostly do big projects. You don't often do little projects. So when you're
not
committed,
necessarily.
you do
I mean,
lot
I
of
do a lot of
sweaters.
like recently
year
I
she
have.
did a
Yes.
lot. But is this year a sweater year? I don't know.
So far it's not. But like you were saying, like, you know, I get stressed out about finishing things before the new class schedule comes out. And then those are the times when I sort of just tend to not do anything when I should be doing everything.
Oh my god, my house is never as clean.
Oh, I know. And I was reading an article about it, and they were saying an important thing to do is not to force yourself to do anything or to try and tough it out. And that's a thing that I'm do all the time. It's like, I'm just gonna knit it. I don't care.
Powerhouse through.
Yeah, but it's bad for you. Like, it's not good to, you know, force yourself to do it.
It takes the thing that you really, really love.
Right. And it turns it into work.
And turns it into work.
Yeah.
Which yes, it's work, but
it's fun. I don't,
it takes the fun out of it. It just,
I mean, I love to knit. And I'd like to think that, like, knitting is knitting, but it's not. You know, if I'm knitting this, it's, you know, knitting's knitting, as long as I'm knitting something. But that's not always true, because it's like, I'd way rather be working on this selfish project for myself than to work on, you know, this thing that I have to finish. It's not the same, but, you know, I'm still knitting, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And
retail therapy, buying new yarn,
doesn't always help.
No,
it does
always help.
sometimes, but
I think we could, I don't want to speak for all three of us, but I think there's a similar theme of we really want to appreciate what we already have in our stash and work through the value we've already invested in our stash. And so to me, I started to realize the more I bought stuff to distract me from the old projects, I just feel more weight. Like,
you feel more weight.
Like, physically feel this weight on my shoulders because I have another thing.
It's not just freeing. It feels satisfying when you go to your stash because you bought that thing because you really loved it, and all the times you've been gazing at it, wondering to do something with it, but you have other projects you have to do.
Time yet.
Or maybe the project that originally you got it for, you didn't love the project, but you still love the yarn. Mm-hmm. There is just something really enjoyable about saying, oh, I finally get to work with this thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that thing wasn't supposed to be what you originally intended it, but repurposing it into something. Maybe instead of a knit project, it meant to be a crochet project.
I'm getting better about being less precious about my stash. Because it's like, I have this beautiful skein of yarn, and I'm like, I could start that, but maybe that's not the best thing it could be. But you know what? At least it's a thing, you know? It's a thing, and that's what it meant to be. The yarn became a thing, and that means the yarn is happy.
Things find their beauty in their usefulness. Sometimes.
Find their beauty in their usefulness. Interesting.
Yeah.
It could be a thing sitting on the shelf, but then you walk away from it. But the thing that you
That's like that lady. Somebody, I don't remember all the players, but somebody from Anna Kappa had messaged someone on Ravelry to see if they could get that one more ball from their stash. I think it's when the stash, like putting your stash in your Ravelry profile was newer.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I don't knit. I just collect yarn. I collect yarn because it's pretty, and I absolutely could not part with this ball of yarn, no matter how much you need it."
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Well, all right then.
So sometimes some of your yarn, like, just be honest, you just bought it to be a beautiful ball of yarn.
That's so funny.
That is true.
Oh, I can't.
But that is still, I'm trying to think its usefulness. I guess it's art.
It's art.
It's art,
It's
yeah.
art.
Which it is
art has utility.
And art has, exactly.
And how wonderful for someone who could appreciate the materials as an art form in its own and crafting well-made materials.
Fascinating.
Yes. I both want to know and not know that person.
Yeah.
If I owned a yarn store, I want to know that person. Also, maybe that person's not real and that was just a sassy answer.
Maybe.
Could be that too.
Oh, I don't knit. I just collect it and you can't have it. All right.
Oh, How badly do you want it? That's the bigger the no.
One thing I find important for myself is to allow myself to take breaks, because when I stop knitting because I'm not feeling inspired, then I get guilt that I should be knitting. And it's like every night that I go home and I sit down on my couch and I don't have knitting in my hands, I feel guilty because I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I have a million things I should be doing.
Yep.
Why aren't I knitting?
Yep. I do that exact same internal dialogue.
It's important. I get out my project. It sits right next to me in its little bag, and I never touch it. And it's important for me to remind myself that it's okay to not knit sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling guilty because you're in a knitting slump or you're feeling uninspired or whatever, it's okay, you know, and your mojo will come back. Yep. It always does. Yep. But you don't have to feel guilty about it. And for me, I think that those things manifest themselves when I'm stressed. And it could be about work stuff, or it could be about any number of things.
Yep.
And
life.
Yeah, exactly. You get stressed out, and that's when I think, I mean, the term self-care is kind of like, you know, a hot thing right now, but it's important to take care of yourself. Yeah. And when I'm not taking care of myself, those are the times when I get home and I'm tired and I don't feel like doing anything. And if I'm taking better care of myself and I'm doing the things and, you know, eating healthy and, you know, going for walks and all those lovely things that we should be doing, because those are the times when I...
But isn't that also your body saying...
Yeah.
You need to stop doing.
Yeah.
Whatever that doing is.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to stop.
It's about balance.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's like I usually help myself by moving, like going outside, taking a walk, you know, doing something outdoors is usually good. For me, this winter has been one of the first times that I've sort of recognized that I think I was struggling with seasonal affective disorder, because I was feeling really not great about a lot of things. And it was just like, I don't know why I don't have any energy. I don't know why I'm so tired. I don't know. I don't always feel this way.
It was that day when it was super windy.
Yeah. I
mean, not like today, it's also super windy, or yesterday when it was super windy, but that first super windy day feels like... it just sucked the energy right out.
Yeah, it makes me so tired.
I love windy days. So I think I suffer... For many years, I have been aware that I suffer from the opposite seasonal.
A lot of people have it in summertime.
Yeah, I'm a spring, summer season, sad. And it's been true my whole life. Some kind of traumatic things happened in the springtime when I was young. Like my dad got very sick with cancer and had some surgeries then. But I know if I look at my childhood before then, that I would get like bogged down in March, April, anyway.
This is the time of year where I feel better. Yeah. Like now that it's like the time change is like, I love it so much, because it's like when it's light outside and I'm leaving work and it's still light outside, like it makes me feel so much better to just have that little bit of extra sun. It's like 100% for me.
Well, I'm sure it's physiologically better. I just wish that we all acknowledge that the way the planet rotates, the days are going to get longer anyway. But I really am trying, because in past years I have been pretty full of vitriol at this time of year because I don't like the time change. But I think it's because I had this very important insight. California voted that they are willing to have a conversation if it ever becomes a federal conversation.
Okay, that's not what I thought we were voting for.
I understand. I read it very carefully because I'm very passionate about this.
Normally
Me too.
I do, but that one I just...
and you're not alone, because I heard a lot this week. Didn't we vote about this?
We
voted for the option to talk about it.
It's the most ridiculous proposition I've ever come across.
We voted so that we could vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many tax dollars were wasted? Don't get me started.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I read it carefully. I was proud of myself for really reading it. In that, I started to reflect that, well, we'll probably stop it while daylight savings time is happening. And then to my dying day, I will complain about not getting that hour back. But then I realized that I was born during daylight savings time, and I'm not really entitled.
You're not entitled to that hour. You don't get it anyway.
So I think it actually was like I reasoned myself into a better attitude this time. Because I really...
People have strong opinions about the time change.
First of all, I never felt like I really got my hour back. And I think it's because we had just gotten back from our big trip. My kids had a whole lot of stuff happening with school, and I was exhausted anyway, and I never really felt like I recouped that hour. I always feel like really energized by daylight savings time ending. So maybe the way you're feeling energized
I
now.
always had energy in the fall when we gained the hour because I love starting school. I loved school. And fall was the start of school. And I always resented this time of the year because by this time, the love is like faded and I really am tired and I really needed that hour, and now you're taking another one. I could have used... Why didn't you just take the hour at the beginning of the year? I had plenty of energy. I could have saved it up for this time of year.
No, I never offer an hour of my time to be just gone. No. I will be happy to get my bonus hour if we wisely end daylight savings time and end it for good.
But it's not a purely American thing.
No, I know.
I did not know that
real
it's a global
stupid
thing.
regardless. It's hit or miss global.
You could drive to Arizona and not have to
Or
worry about it.
there's another state, I can't remember. It's
there's
back
2
east
of them.
too.
No, I'm talking about
and a small portion of other places, like cities, make the decision too,
yeah,
which is like
that's weird.
ridiculous.
I mean, our city could have chosen not to do this.
Well, we can at
I
least
don't know.
vote to have a vote.
Been there, done that.
Ay.
No, I didn't realize so much. So my husband deals with a lot of clients that are all over the world, and he where was I going with this? Oh, so he's like, this time of year always messes things up because they're in sync with, they have a certain time where they know the other customers in other countries are going to be, but for 2 weeks we're now out of sync with them until they have their time, which, like, if we're gonna if we're saying that the sun changes, can't we just agree that it's always going to be the same day globally?
That's
yeah,
I don't think that,
or get rid of it globally,
No.
because the whole idea when I was a
sure
kid,
that
they said
doesn't
that this
work.
was for farmers, right? Have you ever known a farmer to wait till the sun comes up before they start their work?
That's BS.
They're up before the sun, and they're go to bed after the sun.
Totally for city folk, for exactly what you just said. It's so city folk could have victory gardens and also have more time outside of the office without. It's exactly what people get excited about.
This has nothing to do with farmers.
No, because exactly, farmers get up when the sun's up and they go to bed when the sun's down. Like, the work takes the time the work takes.
The hour of the day, the sun has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Well,
Work
that's
is work.
such a fascinating thing about how they figured out the actual size of the Earth following. I can't remember what I was listening, because I was definitely listening to something, so it would have been some audiobook I was listening to about, like, chasing the sun across the globe and talking to people, like, sending messages across, and that's how they were able to, like, make a consistent time across the world and also figure out the actual size of the Earth, and it's all like tied together. What was it?
It's interesting.
I'm sure it was some NPR thing.
I was coming home.
Fascinating.
I was coming home from work the other day because I leave here, like, if I leave when I'm done, I leave at 4. Usually I don't, but I left. I got home. It was like probably like 6 when I got home, and it was still light outside. And all the kids in my neighborhood were out playing. The dad had just gotten home from work, and it was still light outside, and he was playing with his kids, and I was like, this makes me happy. Look at how much fun these children are having. I'm going to go inside and sit on my couch, but I like the idea that I could go outside. I might go for a walk.
Just not going to bed.
And because I'm allowing myself that attitude change, I am also enjoying the daylight I'm in 2.5 years of a conventional office job, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and I am valuing the light.
Yes.
I won't lie. Don't spread it around. It's still going to happen. Like, that's how the Earth works. But I am noticeably appreciating it. Which is new for me.
Yeah.
Because I do have such a, like, consistent schedule, and I'm very much in the pattern of that I can see the value in more sunshine at the end of the day.
It makes me My whole point is it makes me feel better.
Well, so this year, to get ready for the time change, I was really concentrating on getting myself at least into bed by 10 p.m., which is very challenging for me and doesn't really suit me every day. But I know that if I get more rest, that I'm not going to notice the change so much. Yeah. And I think that kind of, like you were saying, self-care is taking care of
and it
yourself.
can be a million things.
Yep.
Whatever it is that makes you feel better. That's important. I think it's important. Another point is not to compare yourself to anybody.
That's my other favorite saying. Comparison is the thief of joy.
It's not, it's real easy to do in the age of Instagram and Ravelry, and you follow all these amazing people and all the amazing things they're doing, and you're like, how do they have so many hours in the day to do all these amazing things? And then you feel worse about it.
Yep. So I used to say, well, they don't have kids, but then I'm like, yeah. They have 2 little ones and they're pregnant. Yeah. So that doesn't work anymore.
It's not good to compare yourself to anyone. I also think it's important to set boundaries for yourself. So, and especially in your knitting. So, if you're not us and you don't knit for part of your job, that means that it's a hobby for you and you are allowed to knit whatever you want to knit. So, if somebody requests, oh, I'd love if you could make me a blank, you don't have to say yes. No. You could say no. Yes. And learning to say no is very important. Yes. So it's okay to say no to things, and it's okay to be selfish with your knitting because it's your knitting and you do it because it makes you happy. And if you're not happy,
why are you doing it?
Then don't do it.
That's what. So my young coworker, he had that observation this week. We interact with a lot of personalities at the funeral home I work at, and but he had this insight in listening to me talk about my life and work experience over the many years, that sometimes you get people who come to you who are not happy and maybe you're not in the best of mood, but knitting and crocheting and all that stuff is like their hobby. So why would they come to it angry and upset and with a bad attitude about it? Well, first thing is that like learning has a lot of emotional baggage that comes with it, and the way you learn and your learning experiences. So that's part of it. But also, some people just go through their lives angry.
It's true.
It's true.
And they mean everything with anger.
It's true.
So, like, why are you showing up that way?
I know. I hear from people all the time who are like, I was struggling with this project and my husband saw me knitting and he's like, don't you do this for fun? And you're like, yeah, shut up, I know I do. I'm not having fun right now.
Which that's okay, because again, that's just, the universe is processes, not things. And so like, this is part of the process, and not all growth feels good and wonderful. Some of it hurts,
And it's not linear.
Yeah. Oh, that's right on. So it might not always look like we're having fun, but generally, like, I come to this with a happy spirit, and maybe the deeper question is, how do you keep that happy spirit or that joyful spirit part of our creating and creative journey? Like, you know.
Yeah, everybody's different, and you're gonna find what works for you, and sometimes it's just not doing it for a while, and sometimes it's getting back to basics and trying from square one something totally different, or it could be whatever it is. But
I think that's where I am with my sewing, is the get back to basics. Is like, I actually read the pattern instructions and followed them fairly close to A through Z, 1, 2, 3, instead of 1 Z Q 4. You know, the way I want to do it and the way that feels smarter and works for me. And that's like, why would you ever write patterns this way? But
it also keeps you humble to start from square one.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, I know what this pattern wants me to do. I know better than it. Well, I don't. I don't know better. I should have paid attention.
Oopsie-daisy. That's what the stitch ripper's for.
Yeah.
Or I'm so amused lately, and maybe it's just a strange coincidence, that I've met a few people who didn't know what frogging meant. And it's the, rip it. And then they giggle, just like I did when I finally connected it. But yeah, sometimes you gotta frog, sometimes you gotta rip.
Yep.
So mine was try new things. Karen's is give yourself permission to turn off, to try to...
Also try something different. It may not necessarily be something new.
Or just switch to a different thing.
Switch to something.
Change gears.
Yeah.
Change gears.
And take care of yourself.
Because if something's not fun, forcing yourself is not going to bring the fun.
Well, I think we probably all said very similar things. Because like that sounds a lot like what Katie said.
Yeah.
But
there's Katie's cargo bag.
Take care of yourself. I mean, even though we have the pleasure of this being our work,
our hobby and our work are the same.
I mean, well, why not be having fun? Though?
Yeah, exactly.
It is cool to knit and sew and crochet and make and be a creative DIYer and all of that for your career. Like, that is cool.
Yeah.
Like,
You got to remember that.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, this is pretty sweet what I get to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do I have to complain about? Well,
or if you choose, I mean, because hobbies take on all forms. Like, so if you've chosen to be a maker as your hobby, like, let's have fun. Let's keep it fresh.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought of one more thing. If what you're doing, if is not fun, you're doing it by yourself. Do it with friends.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
that's
find a
really
buddy.
what makes what we're doing so much better.
I always say, like, I would never have done this by myself.
Oh,
like,
nope,
and I never
nope,
could
nope,
do it by
nope.
myself. And I wouldn't have, and I'm glad that I don't have to. So, yeah.
I think that's kind of what I'm sharing.
Yeah.
It's
It's hard to
so much better with friends.
Yeah, it's hard to do something by yourself. It's hard to, to make in in your own little space without, because you're just excited and you want to talk about it. And you just want to have
I think everybody learns differently, and because I've been digging in about like maybe one of the things that made knitting such a great became my primary creating focus is that it was so easy to join in community about it, and I happened to pick it up and get serious about it when community was exploding with Stitch and Bitch and Yahoo groups and and it coming out of people's living rooms and bedrooms and like being a communal activity. Like I caught that fire, whereas sewing was such a solitary, my mom taught me, and then I dug in and just like really hyper focused in on what I wanted to do. You sit in your office
for hours by yourself
and just like late at night sew with nobody watching me, and that really was like my alone recharge stuff. So I never really thought of sewing as like how to grow in that community, and now that I am opening my heart to seeing that it's a community just like knitting is, I feel so energized about it. So yeah, do it with friends. Everything's better with a buddy.
Everything's better with a buddy.
Yep.
Or two.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you guys for listening. Remember, you can write us a review on wherever you're listening to this. You can leave comments on YouTube, on wherever. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to shoot us an email. Our website is...
And we would like questions.
Our website is stringsandthingsstudio.com. You can contact us through that. Our Instagram is I'm at Katie Creates.
I am Anland22, and then I'm also like trying to foster my outfit a day one, which is OOTDANNE.
I don't follow that.
Caron does. I don't know that she knows that she follows it.
I do.
You have a secret Instagram account that I don't know about?
Well, I started it because I was doing Stitch Fix, and
we're not saying goodbye yet.
So, it's the Minnesotan goodbye, the Italian goodbye, the long goodbye, whatever. So I started it because Instagram's frozen on me right now.
I'll find you.
I'm pretty sure that's my name.
Yeah, it is, because I just followed you.
I just brought it full circle. What's my name?
OOTDANNE.
So I wanted to teach my Stitch Fix stylist what I actually liked, because I was writing pretty impassioned but polite reviews.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like she was hearing me, if it really is one-to-one.
Yeah.
And so then I've stopped Stitch Fix for now, so I'm just doing it because I want to catalog and create a more cohesive personal style.
What's your Instagram handle, Caron?
Knit Spinner 805.
Okay.
And that's spinner with 2 N's.
I think that's it. So I guess we'll talk to you guys next month.
Next month?
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.